Hello everyone. In this session we will understand types of blocks in Java. So let's get started. So types of block in Java, it's nothing. It's about open and close curly bracket. And there are four types of blocks in Java. That is a static block, initialization block, constructor block, and method block. So why block matters? So in Java everything is written inside the block, means open curly bracket and close curly bracket, and it basically segregate the functionality. So it's quite important in Java, and everything written inside the block only, and it controls the flow of the Java. In Java you can write the code anywhere in the class, but it should be inside the block, and in which order you will call or invoke this method, direct or indirect, it will get executed. So block is quite important. It separate the code, so it's crucial in Java, and you cannot write the code without block. You must have to write the block in any one types of block, like four types of blocks. So inside this block only you can write the code. So we'll further understand what is the use of a static block and all other types of blocks. So method block is basically for method, and inside we write the logic for that particular method, and it is executed when method gets called, and it perform the specific business logic written inside the method. Suppose we have one method display. So display method must have curly bracket. Inside this we write some code to display the thing, like a student's details we want to just print, then we will write this. So display is a method, and it will have curly bracket, open bracket and close bracket, and inside this we will write the code to print the thing. So this is about method block. Constructor block is used with constructor, and when we create any object, then constructor is called, and there are many types of constructor. We will discuss this in detail, but constructor block is used while initializing the constructor. And when we say initializing the constructor, means when we create the object or instance of a class, then constructor gets called automatically. So, and inside this we write some initialization logic, object initialization logic inside the constructor, and that thing gets executed. And a static block must have a static keyword, and in this we write some common logic, like loading some common configuration, and anything which is common in the class, those things we write inside the static block. Suppose we want to create a connection, DB connection, and load some configuration and write some login details. Yeah, actually these are used in production environment. So anything which are common to all constructor or instance, then we write the thing inside the block, and it gets executed when class is loaded. And in instance initialization block, it is simply called instance block, and it's rarely used, but it's quite important, and it is called when every object is created. And here I have mentioned that, like, what is the use of this initialization block. If we want to understand it in simple language, then we can say that instance initialization block is used to perform common object initialization logic that should execute before every constructor. Suppose we have a class and that class has 5 constructor and we create 5 objects, means instance for all constructors. So for 5 means for every single instance, this instance block get executed to perform some common task. It is similar like a static block, but a static block gets called while class is loaded. Means a static block is the first statement which is executed before anything, but instance block may be execute or not. It depends on instance. Suppose we create one instance, then it will call only one sign. If we create 2 3 means suppose a number we have created 10 instance, then 10 times this instance block will be executed, but a static block execute only once. That is the major difference. And it help to reduce the duplicacy inside the constructor. So suppose we have 5 constructor and we want to write some common logic in all constructor, then there is one option, we simply duplicate the thing in all 5 constructor. Another option is that we create one instance block and inside this we write the common logic, so that it will reduce the duplicacy. So the purpose of instance block is to reduce the duplicacy from the constructor. And how it executes all these 4 blocks. Suppose we have mentioned all 4 blocks, means a static block, instance block, constructor block and method block. So when we run the program, then first time class is loaded, and when class loaded, then a static block gets called automatically. You don't need to write any code to call this block. It gets executed by the JVM, and then instance initialization block call when you create any instance, and then constructor block, and last is method block. So when you call the method, then method block will be executed. And here is an example like a static block. A static block must be written with a static keyword, and it has open curly bracket and close curly bracket. And this one is just below a static block, it's the instance block, and it doesn't have name. It is also called anonymous block because it doesn't have name, so it is also called anonymous block or instance block or instance initialization block, anything you can say. And here demo is a constructor. As in previous session I have said that if method name is same as class name, then this is called constructor. So and there are many types of constructor, like here there is no argument, so it is called no argument constructor or default constructor. So it has constructor block, and we have a method, show method, and it is a method block. So static block, instance block, constructor block and method block. And when you run the program, then first it will print the statement like a statement first, means a static block will be executed first, and then instance block, and then constructor, and then method. And most important thing, a static block executed only once because it gets called while class is loaded. So and class is loaded only once. So whenever class get loaded, means when you run the program, that point of time class gets loaded by the JVM, that time only a static block gets executed. And another thin block, it depends on your program logic and requirement. Based on that these three blocks will get called. Memory perspective, where this block store the data. So static block store the data in class area or method area. Instance block or constructor block store the data in heap, or object lifecycle means object store in heap, so it store the data in heap area. And method block runtime execution, and method area basically it uses a stack, so it store the data in a stack. So a static block data stored in class area or method area, constructor or instance block data stored in a heap, and method block data stored in a stack, because whatever we write inside the method, it's a local thing, and local variable and local data are stored in a stack only. And just some interview question, interviewer may ask you what is the difference between a static and constructor, can we have multiple static block, or when is IIB means instance initialization block is useful. So you can find the answer over the internet. And summary, we have already discussed a static block is called while class is loading, instance block gets called before constructor, and constructor invoked while creating the object, and method, inside method we usually write the business logic. And let's see it through the diagram. So I have created a extensive diagram for all 4 types of block, so you can understand it better way. So here is method block, and method block has method like here. So this part is called method block. So inside this you write the business logic. Suppose we have show method, so in this we will display the thing, and whatever we will mention here, all statements will be local, and it will go in a stack memory area, and it is invoked when you create the object and call this method through that object. We will see it through the concrete example, but first understand through the diagram. And constructor block, here is the constructor block. Suppose we have a class, and class has some means constructor has some logic, so this is the constructor block. So this is the constructor block. Similarly, this is the static block, and this is the instance initialization block, or it is also called anonymous block because it doesn't have any name. Here you can see that maybe it's quite strange for you that it doesn't have name. Yes, Java has this kind of syntax, and this is called anonymous or instance block. And here is a complete example, and execution flow is like that. A static block get executed first, and then instance block, and then constructor, and then method block. And method block, suppose we have 4 object, then in this statement means instance block will be called 4 times, and constructor also will get called 4 times. And memory representation, here we have said that whatever we mention inside the method, it will go in a stack, or all object reference also reside, means local variable and reference goes in a stack memory, and something related to object means instance variable goes in heap, and in method area, or method area is also called class area. So anything mentioned in a static block, it goes in method area. And here is some interview question, like what is the difference between a static block and instance block. Second question may be asked, what order are block executed when an object is created? Can we have multiple static block in a class? do instance block run if constructor is not explicitly written. And so these are the related questions you have to prepare before interview. So let's move to the concrete program I have written for you so that we will understand it quickly. So I have written whole program. So I have a class block demo, and it has a static block, and just below it has instance block, and after that just beneath it has constructor block and then method block, and here is main method. So here we have created object 1 and object 2, means that when we call this method, means object is created here. So first class, when you run the program, then class will be loaded, means this block demo class will be loaded by the JVM automatically, and once it loaded, then JVM will invoke this method. So this will be the first statement, means it will print first when you run the program, and then object creation will happen. So here new block demo. So here once object is initialized, then this statement will gets called, and then once object is created, means it takes the memory in a heap area, and object is constructed, then this statement will gets called and initialize the instance variable and all those things. So this is the third statement which will be executed, and once object is created, then we will invoke this method object 1.show. So this method will be called. So if you don't call, suppose object 1.show, then this statement will not execute at all. So to call this, you need to invoke this method, means call this method, then only this block statement will be executed. And this is just for line break purpose. And another statement, another object we have created like object 2, so it will also invoke instance block first, and then constructor block, and later we have called show method, then this statement will be called. So while creating and executing these statement, then these three statement will be executed every time, means instance block while creating, means at the initialization. Actually object creation has also some life cycle, so it has first initialization stage. So at the initialization stage, this block will be executed, and then constructor will be invoked, and then method will be called. So these are the things. So now I'm going to run this program. So here it is. So a static block, you can see we have created two objects 1 and 2, but this statement is executed only once, because object is loaded only once in the whole life cycle, and it invoked while even you don't write anything here. I have removed everything, even though a static block will be executed, you can see here, because this statement is not depends on object. As I said, a static block depends on class loading, so class will be loaded when you run the program. So this statement will be executed every time. So that's the thing. Now I am just undo it, and again running this program. So this statement is executed, and then this statement is printed, and then instance block is invoked, and then constructor, and then method. So while means at this statement, while creating the object, these two statement will be executed, means instance block and constructor. And this method means when you invoke object 1.show, then this statement will be printed. In the show method we have printed like method executed, and same thing we have repeated here. I have created another object and it will do the same thing, and as things will be executed in the same order. So that's the thing, friends, and it's quite useful for you. I know that it's the very useful features in Java, because I am working in the software industry for many years and I know the importance of these statements. So I hope you understand it, and if you want to learn the thing in detail, then you can search a specific topic in the internet and develop your understanding in depth. So thank you for now. Bye.